Alrighty, okay, there we go. It was my antivirus not letting me record. Anyway, now that I'm recording, let me stream the screen, go live. Alright, so I want to start by looking at um, your website or your web pages and what ideas you have for what you're going to be building for the rest of the class. So let's do that now. I've got them here. I'm just gonna go in whatever order I downloaded. I guess it's alphabetical. So Azusa, yours is first. And for Azusa, we got this. So she submitted an index file and a styles. And oh, it got renamed when I downloaded, so I don't know if that's gonna mess it up. I think it is. So let me just fix that. Make that just index and styles. There we go. Okay, so this is Azusa's. So goal of the website is reliability assurance or attracting customers. Who's the target? People who need information and knowledge they want to know. Is it static website or more complicated? Simple, easy to understand and use photo or graph. Okay. What tools might you use? WordPress or Wix, but I want to make my by myself. Well, that's possible. Okay. No mention of what exactly it is. Have you decided yet, Azusa? Or you're still deciding what the website is exactly going to be for? It's just a thing. Personal portfolio site. Okay. All right. Good job. Next up is Keith. Need to extract the files here. And let's see. Let's put this back. Put that back there. Okay, so Keith, we've got an index file and a styles with the style sheet. And this is what it looks like. Okay, so all right, bonus points for being unique and going above and beyond. So as you can see, he didn't just make a list. He's got this cool grid layout here that's got 4 columns. Oh, and he made it responsive, so it switches to 2 columns. Nice job. And then if you hover over what is the goal of the website, we get the answer. The goal of the website is to provide information on the latest and upcoming sneaker drops. Who is the target audience? Avid sneaker collectors, those starting to get in the game. Is it static or complicated? It will be static. Links to articles containing images and text. And what tools might you use? Basic HTML, VS Code, Shopify, and Weebly. Okay. So Shopify or Weebly or VS Code, right? Not all 3 of those. And if you're curious how he did this, it's CSS grids. And then if we just quickly take a look at the code here, actually, let me do it this way. Instead of inspect, you can do view page source. It will just give you the HTML right there. So you can see he didn't use a list in this case. He just created these divisions or divs, boxes, and he's got um, a section for key terms. I wondered, Keith, did you did you extract this from um, the one assignment we had in, I forgot what class it was. It was I think not the WordPress class, but the accessibility. Yeah, that one. Yeah, because we had, I remember using the ID key terms there. So And you made it similar, so pretty cool. That's not cheating. When you're a web developer, all you do is, well, most of the time you're copy pasting some existing code. That's why there's Bootstrap, right? The whole point of Bootstrap is you don't write your own CSS and JavaScript. Instead, you use Bootstrap. Let's see, I closed the folder. Let's check who's next. Mika. So for sure you don't want me to look at yours? We could fix it, make it look nicer. Yes, no?
Please don't.
Please don't. Okay, fine. Milo will look at yours.
Thank
You're welcome. So we got an index file, a styles, and a looks like an image. And this is what it looks like. Wow, this looks nice. Nice little background he added, and um, that doesn't look like a regular font. You're using, yep, you're using Google Fonts. Cool. So what is the goal of the website? Um, to spread knowledge and share personal views and opinions. It's going to be a blog where people can have a healthy discussion. Who's the target audience? People who have thirst for knowledge and who love to travel and read. It will be a static website. And what tools might you use? First timers will have to use website builder or CMS. Well, are you a first timer or are you gonna use HTML and CSS? Judging by this, you're not a first timer. So nice job, Milo. Um, and then where's Nayun? Nayun, were you able to join or you're still? Nope. Oh yeah, you are here. Okay. Nayun, I looked at yours. Um, you submitted like a Word file, so I don't know. This isn't gonna work as it is. We got like a list at the top. I don't know what that loud noise was outside. Anyways, there's a list here. So I could just read off the list for what you're gonna be creating, but then you also included some HTML here. So I don't know what happened. I'll try to make this work for us in a second. But let's just look at what you answered. You want to make a website about travel blog, target audience, someone who wants to travel, upload about the cities that you visited. It'll be static and you use VS Code. Okay. Well, we could start by making this one. I'm gonna rename it index.html. Let's see if that's at least gonna. Okay, there we go. All right, so yeah, just add some CSS to that, and you're good. But same for questions and answers. And then Paul, we have an HTML file, but no CSS here, so don't expect any styling. Um, what is the goal of the website? The goal is to show off some photos that you made. You'll be uploading your best photos. Okay, I look forward to seeing those. Who's the target audience? Friends and fans of my photography. Static website. Yes, it's only display of your photo work. And what tools might you use? WordPress and Dreamweaver. Really, you're gonna use Dreamweaver and not VS Code? And the next one. Really? Dreamweaver is easier for you? I guess that's what you're used to. And then Tomomi, let's see what we got here. I'm guessing the link is broken because there's a CSS file here, but I'm not seeing any styles here. Let me see. If we look here, fail to load resource styles.css. Let me open that real quick and see if I could fix it. I know Tomomi's not here at the moment. Unless she came in later. Nope. Okay, we're seeing. It's because it's looking for a styles.css in a CSS folder. So I just have to make a folder here named CSS and put this in here. There we go. Now we've got some styles. So goal of this website is sharing tips for enjoying Disney parks. Target audience people who love Disney. Be static. And you might use a content management system. Okay, so Disney site. And who's left? Yoshi. Um, not here yet. Or I don't know. A couple of you are mourning, so maybe that's why you're not here. Let's check this out. Okay, so goal of this website, since I have a passion for basketball, I like to sell basketball shoes and sneakers. I think we had one other one that was for sneakers, so two sneaker websites so far. Online shopping website, goal websites to sell those online internationally. Who's the target audience? Anyone who likes basketball and sneakers. Um, Site will be dynamic because dynamic pages generate pages in real time so customers can see the latest information. I don't know if it's really going to be dynamic at the end, but that's what she listed. You submit on Google Classroom. So yeah, when you log into Google Classroom, click on classwork and then you'll see there assignment 1 and assignment 2. Assignment 2 is a little bit easier. It's just list like 5 websites that you like related to what you're building. So just go look for some inspirational sites. And here, in case you can't find it, bro, let me just copy paste the link to it. For this current assignment, that's the link. And then here's the link for assignment 2. Okay, so tools that I might use are HTML, CSS, Visual Studio Code, Illustrator, Photoshop, Google Fonts, Coolers. Okay, more specific here, she's being about all the different tools that might be needed. So of course you'll need Illustrator and Photoshop if you're gonna be designing your own graphics and logos and stuff. And if you're gonna include Google Fonts and maybe use Coolers. Coolers, remember, is this site. It helps you pick a color theme if you don't feel like picking one yourself. Generate these colors here, and it just gives you the color code. All right, cool. And I think from the ones that were submitted, that's it so far. If you have more, you could submit it. Maybe look at it later or tomorrow or something. I also want to look at some of these inspirational sites that you guys picked. So I'll go through those. Actually, I'm trying to figure out how to download these. Um, okay, they're links. Okay, so there's gonna be a bunch of these because I asked each of you to turn in 5, even though only like 6 have turned in this assignment so far. That's still 5 times 6, so it's still a lot of different pages to go through. So I'll go through these quickly. So these were submitted by Eric. The first one is this commercial real estate site. So you open it, you're greeted by this um, newsletter sign up modal box, pop up box. Click no on that. Okay, so I'm guessing you're trying to create some sort of real estate site because let me see. The next one is also something similar to this. Um, these are uh, the broker list. Well, so yeah, it's real estate related stuff. This website, I guess it's pretty clean. I don't know about the bottom half here. Um, I don't know. I feel like they could have designed this bottom part a little bit nicer, but the menu is cool. You get these nice little pop-ups that kind of rotate out. A bunch of indicators on top. Um, let's close that one. And this one, I kind of like the cleaner look of this one. More simple, easy to use, I think. More user friendly. Yep. And then we've also got another one here. This one's not bad either. This one's got a little more content on that front page. And then this one. Maybe out of all of them, this one may be the most professional looking, possibly. Either this or like the second one I looked at. Um, cool. So, and let's look at. Okay, this is Yoshi's list. We've got Nike.com. Remember, she's going to be selling sneakers, so I want to look at websites like Nike to get some ideas. Of course, it's Nike. It's a multi-billion-dollar company, so they're gonna have a nice website. Not that it looks any different than something you could possibly make yourself, but just it's guaranteed not to have anything amateur looking here. And of course, got these huge menus with all kinds of stuff to go through. Um, and then there's Finish Line, Shoe Store, and no thanks. Okay, so yeah, some ideas if you're gonna have some kind of e-commerce site. Um, maybe well, this has an advertisement, but if you didn't, you might have something like this, like a featured product or a slideshow with featured products. Although I heard somewhere that people don't like slideshows or that the slideshows are not a good idea for your first content that you see. I don't know. I don't know if that's true or not, but that was one person's opinion. And let's check out Footlocker. And all of these have this annoying pop-up that wants you to sign up for their newsletter so they can continue email marketing you every day, send you stuff. Um, Okay, so Foot Locker, pretty much the same as the other two. This one might be a little bit different because it's not a shoe store, it's the NBA website. I don't know how you'd integrate any of these features in there. I mean, it's a if you're gonna be selling basketball shoes, I guess there's um some of the styles you could pick up from here. I don't know. And finally, there's an NBA store. Okay. Alrighty. I'll try to go a little quicker because this is kind of there's just so many. Okay, so the Disney blog. So this is just a blog. But since it's just a regular blog someone's made, this could be easy to recreate since there's lots of blogging tools out there like WordPress and Blogger. Nothing crazy or special about the style though. What's this? Blog Mickey, another Mickey blog. So this one is more, it's not as much like a blog, it doesn't have that big side panel like most blogs do. But you can see here, we got some featured articles, and we got some social media icons, and then the rest of the articles will load here. What's this? The Disney food blog. I didn't realize there's so many Disney blogs out there. Um, but here we've got a blog again, and we've got a slideshow here. You could tell this was like, someone's personal project, not like a crazy um, professional made website, but still simple and nice. Just maybe a little some parts of it could use some work. And then there's this one. Is this okay? This one's not. Is this a blog? Maybe I think it is like a blog, but they're calling it a magazine. Why not? Blog is pretty much like a magazine. If you think about it, you're just putting out articles constantly with different text and images. But I think out of all of these, well, this one's probably the most professional made from all these blogs we just looked at. Um, nice big banner at the top. Welcome. We got some advertisement here, and that's where the blogs begin. No featured article though. Oops. And just out of curiosity, if we click on one of these, check out how the blog is styled. Okay, just basic blog with some sidebar content. You could easily create something like this with the WordPress. Easily. And let's go Azusa. Let's see what you submitted here. First one is Santa Monica Hotel. The second one is Malibu Farm. Okay, I was wondering if you're gonna go for like a hotel website, but this one's not a hotel. Okay, so Shutters on the Beach. This is a nice looking website. Big picture at the top, big slideshow, and then big buttons over here, not too many buttons either, just travel safe, book now, and a phone number. And then we can open the menu to get some more places to click on. I think I just like this photo. It's a nice picture. Nice picture goes a long way making your website look good. And a Malibu Farm. This one also a very nice design. Simple. Um, I like these cleaner looking sites where there's a lot of empty space. You can cramp it all closer together on a mobile device, but since you're on a desktop, it's nice to have something that's more breathing room here. And I just think those look nicer with the empty spaces. What's this one? It says log into your account at the top. Why does it say log into your account? Okay, anyway, Yoga MB. Again, another one of these sites with the big um, empty space. Very clean looking. What's this? They've got a calendar. So okay, so it's a yoga class. So yeah, that's why they've got the calendar there. Um, looks nice. Caribbean cruises. Yeah, not as like clean and empty as the some of the previous ones, but this is a cruise site, so they've got a lot of information to pack in here. So they've got like a 3-layer navigation up here. And Santa Monica. SantaMonica.com. Okay, very cool. So fixed header. I like fixed headers. They're not absolutely necessary, but they're also they're not too difficult to create. Even with just HTML, CSS, it's just you have to consider like if you have any anchor tags like links to something on the page. The one problem is when you click the link, it brings it all the way to the top and gets covered by the fixed navigation. There's ways around that. Alrighty. Okay, let's see what Charlene collected. First one is SeriousEats.com. SeriousEats.com. Introduction to Filipino cuisine. Okay, so looks like a pretty open. Well, this is the blog. Well, it's a newsletter, so that's why it looks like a blog. It is a blog, basically. We've got some articles at the top, and then some recipes at the bottom. And some examples of Filipino cuisine here. Okay, let's look at the next one. Looks like a blog. Now, this is a bad idea, by the way, guys, just some advice. You're gonna have a lot of text. Just left align it. Keep the center aligned for like headers and titles and stuff. But when you have big text, it's easier to read if it's left aligned. Um, some nice tropical imagery. Pretty simple blog. I think you can easily make something like this. throw in some ads too. I don't know if these ads make money anymore. And Culture Trip. I like the look of this one. I think it's just the bright colors and with the white background. Just very nice. 11 things you should know about Filipino culture. Interesting blog. I wonder if you picked the blog for the content or the design. But you could get some content and design ideas from these. So, good inspirational site. And I just looked at your comments, guys. So, Eric, you said you also submitted assignment 1 to Google Classroom. Did we see yours, Eric? I thought we saw yours. Where were we? Did we look at this one? No, we did not. Ah, that is cool. Worldcultureusa.org. So just a bunch of different cultures you can explore in the USA. See, which one should I? I'm gonna click on just one of these. I've never heard of stellar states. What is that? Oh, stellar as in stellar. Okay. I think that was it, right? Yeah, we saw all those. Um, Next one, Paul. Uh, mm, oh, Paul, you made a web page. Okay, Paul made a web page for this. Let's just download it in that case. There we go. So we got Max Milla or MXMLLA. Very, very nice. Simple. You just have a big picture at the top with a fixed navigation. I don't know, it's just like a nice effect. Very clean looking. And I guess this guy is a chef. Yes, food and no, he's a photographer. Okay. Food and drink photographer, not a chef. And you can see here he's got his images set up in a whatchamacallit, mosaic collage. Now, doing this is kind of difficult with just plain HTML and CSS uh, because they fit together like a puzzle. With CSS grids, you can define the number of columns, sure, um, but then I don't know if it's like you could have something like two images taking up 2 rows, but the way this one is set up, it's like this one's taking up like I don't know, like you could say a row and a quarter or something. Um, but just a little bit of googling, and we could figure out how to create something like this. But we could also get a hint if we check it out this way. gonna dig into it to find out how these are made. So there's a gallery wrapper, overflow hidden, bunch of embedded styles everywhere. I don't know, it's just too complicated to figure out like this. Probably better off to just Google how to create one of these. But I think it's very useful to know how to do that. Very good for a gallery page, as you saw. Oh wait, I downloaded and I closed it. Let's look at the next one. So first website, very nice. This one also. So photographers, they're lucky with their websites because all they have to do is show you some pretty pictures. So it's easy to make a nice looking website like this one as well. Got this one's using more traditional type of grid. This one would be easier to recreate because it's not like one image sliding a quarter past the line or whatever. They're all in a nice grid with rows and columns. You can see every page is one nice big pictures covering up the whole thing. Not too much text to go through. Then again, that's only possible with sites like this or like for personal portfolio sites or something. If you're going to be selling stuff online, you could also simplify it. I don't know, I guess it's possible with any type of site. And what else? Kent Wilson Photography. Check that one out. Charlene, did I see your first assignment? I don't know. Did I? Let me check if I downloaded it earlier. Yeah, we did. Yours was. Oh no, we didn't look at it. I guess I skipped yours. Who else did I skip? Saw the rest of you guys, right? Well, let's go in order here. Goal of the website, promote awareness and to educate people about culture, food, places around the world. That makes sense, okay? Because we looked at the example of sites you picked, and those would be appropriate for this. Anybody who loves traveling is the target audience or wants to learn other cultures. Static because it's easier to host, cheaper to develop, easier for search engines to index, and also easier for you to make it. What tools might you use? You're going to use Weebly, Wix, or WordPress, or do it yourself with HTML, CSS. Okay, and we styled it nicely here. I'm guessing you're also using Google Fonts. Yes, you are. Nice job. Right, and then Kent Wilson Photography. We've got, if we zoom in on this, you'll see it's highlightable text, which is good, you know. Usually when you want to make a fancy looking title like this, you have to use an image, but that's not good for SEO and it's not good for accessibility. So what they did here is it looks like they're just using some CSS styles. Good old CSS to add some drop shadows, multiple drop shadows it looks like. Double check here, make sure. Might be either drop shadows or they just duplicated the text and stuck it on top of each other. Oh no, it is a text shadow. As you can see, I just turned it off. Let's refresh. Cool. Anyways, also photography site, so we get a big nice picture to greet us. And doesn't look like, yeah, there's no menu, except for this right here. So it's keeping it simple. Why not? You know, if that's all the buttons you need to get everyone to access what they need to access, it's good. So it's very minimal. Um, Next one, Michael Anthony photography. Okay, this is more classical, elegant looking. And the first thing you see when you open it is just a big gallery of images. And I'm guessing it's like a single, oh no, we get to click and we can actually filter different images. And we got the about information. The home page, when you scroll all the way down, it's got some information here as well. But I'm guessing you could also access all this through here. Okay. Anyways, starts off pretty simple. Big greeting page and a side panel. We don't see too many of these types of navigations, but it's good to have if you want to keep that on the side and have a fixed navigation. Um, I don't know if this is what it's going to look like on a phone, but even if it was on a phone, I think this would still look fine. You're just going to have very tiny thumbnails. You're going to have to click them to make them bigger. But then again, you have to, it's really hard to see what a site would look like on a phone without actually opening it on a phone. Here, you're supposed to be able to like test this on different devices, but it's not always accurate. Some sites use a different way of detecting if it's on a mobile or not, instead of just looking at the width of the screen. So this might be different on a phone than what we're looking at. Let's go back, back. Okay, and then Michael Roud photography. Okay, pretty professional looking and big picture and some animated content up here. Change your world without a word. Hollywood's top photographers. We got like a video, lots of animation. If you want to add animation like this, um, most of those site builders do have these features in there. You just have to specify how you want it to animate. Something like this one, where like it moves side to side or kind of rotates in 3D. I don't know. That one maybe not as easy to find a website builder that'll do something like that for you. Um, but you could definitely do it like in Wix probably and Webflow. Another tool we'll go over a little bit later. But I think that's it for so far for what I've got here. I mean, a couple more got turned in just now, I think. What am I looking at here? Assignment 1. Yep. I've got like 2 more turned in. Um, might as well go over it now so we don't have to do it later. See, Eric, you were asking if we've seen yours yet. I don't think we've seen this one. But do you have the CSS file? Yes, you do. Let me download that real quick and see if the styles load up. inspect styles.css. Let me see if I could fix it real quick. I don't see oh, there it is, css/styles.css. Okay. So it's just, why don't I do this? Instead of creating a CSS folder, I'll delete that and save it and refresh. There we go. Okay, so another one that is using some fancy hover effects. Again, from a previous class, I showed you guys how to do this. Goal of the website: create awareness to the real estate community. Who's the target audience? Business owners, developers, brokers, and salespersons. It will be static. What might you use for this? You'll build it from scratch. So that means you're going to be using HTML, CSS, and who knows, maybe some JavaScript. But just like you built this one. Very nice. And let me organize this real quick because I don't want to delete it because then I'm going to have to download it again whenever I'm trying to grade. Oh, but if you do resubmit the assignment, let me know. You can always resubmit, make it better if you want. But oh, why do I have two of these? Oh, because one of these is for your photography stuff. For your list of websites. Okay, so this was Eric. Let's see. Eric's son, did we see yours? Or was this recently turned in? Yeah, okay. I don't have Eric's in here, so guessing we didn't see this yet. This is Eric's son. Really? Really, Erickson? You did this for this assignment? This is just almost too much. I have no idea how you did this. Maybe it's simpler than it looks, but very nice so far. I mean, no one else has been able to do something this advanced, I don't think. What is the goal of the site? Plan to create an interactive online shop for garments. Who is the target audience? Shoppers interested in fashion or pop culture. Is it static? Since it's online shop, it'll have interactive features such as creating accounts, having carts, etc. What might you use for this? Plan to use Wix, easier platform to create an online shop. Um, Very nice. Let me see what you did here, though. Okay, well, I'm okay. I'm guessing you used the template, right? You didn't build this from scratch. Um, Anyways, there's no reason why you can't do that. You can always find like some templates for these things. I don't know if Wix will let you export something into a HTML CSS file like this. But yeah, obviously this one is a whole package. It includes a source folder with a JavaScript file and the images and the SCSS. I wonder what you needed the. Oh, of course, that's why. All that crazy animation. 3D animation, I might add. That looks like 3D stuff going on here. Anyways, nice job either way. Even though you didn't build it from scratch, it's understandable. You can still do that. Um, I think that's it for the new submissions for assignment 1. And there's a couple more turned in for assignment 2 here. But it's just going to be more bunch of websites. So I'll skip those. Actually, I think we saw all of those already. All right, so you got some ideas hopefully now. What kind of websites there are out there, all the different looks you can have, the designs, where you could place the header, um, what kind of um, content are you gonna have in there, what kind of pages. So at this point, I think would be good. So at this point, you should have decided what you want to build your site for, what kind of website you're gonna build. Because the next step we're gonna take is building a visual sitemap, which is gonna look something like these. I think I showed it already last week, but so visual sitemap, something like this that just tells you um, all the different pages you're gonna have, where they're gonna lead to when you click on a button. So there's different ways of doing it. You could open up something like Adobe Illustrator and just, I don't know what I was doing here. It's a bunch of patterns I just created. But you could, in Adobe Illustrator, design your sitemap. Just make some boxes, some plain boxes. Say that's your home page, but I wouldn't recommend doing it this way because I don't know. It's more difficult to work with. Um, you have to draw the lines yourself, and then you have to adjust the size of the boxes and the placement and stuff. Just a lot of manual clicking and drawing stuff, right? So maybe not the best way to do it, but it's certainly possible. You could also draw this on a piece of paper and scan it or take a picture and submit it that way. What am I drawing here? Just a quick example here. Like if this was the site and we had a home page, I'm just gonna write page 1, page 2. But yeah, from the home page you get to go to page 2 and 3 and 3, and then I don't know, they might have sub pages like page 2.1. I'm calling it page 2.1, but obviously you'll have a name for your page. And if that led to somewhere, which it could, maybe that'll be 2.1.1. I don't know, just giving it random names here. This could be page 3.1 and 4. But yeah, so I mean, it doesn't take too long to draw it that way. And then nice thing about doing it this way is you could style it however you want, color code these or put background colors on these. Or you could go with one of these options here. Let me see if these are still valid options. I know this one is because I tried it the other day. Glue Maps, I think, is still the quickest, easiest way to do this. Maybe not as pretty looking as some of the others, but you don't have to sign up or anything for Glue Maps. But I think this is just an example that I drew. So if you had like what would this page be for? Just some generic e-commerce store. You got your about page that leads to maybe something about the team or your mission and values, and then maybe your team page leads to management and the contact. And then for pricing, you have compare packages. And then from the compare packages, you have basic, pro, and premium. All could be separate pages. You click on the button to get more detail about the basic plan or the pro plan or the premium plan. And then you could have like a separate blog. A lot of companies do that. They keep a separate blog just to lead more traffic to your site. It's just good for, again, SEO or search engine optimization and having your site listed at the top of Google results. This one uses Venngage. So let's check out Venngage, see if that is still around. It looks like it, but I think we have to sign up for this one. I'm just gonna try. Okay. I had to have signed up for it at least once, but I guess not. Yeah, whatever email I tried says user does not exist. So I guess I never signed up for it. But yeah, why not? Today we're spending time figuring out how to do these visual sitemaps. So I think it'll be worth signing up. Why don't we just log in with Google actually? Log in with let's log in with the school. I don't know why it's not listed here. I'm signed in currently. You would think that's the first account they would pick. Oh, because I'm using the wrong browser, that's why. Gotta open that with Chrome. Alright, so here's what Venngage looks like when you log in. And let's create the best experience for you. Let us know a bit more so we can help you get started. I'm here for choose main thing. Let's call it personal. I'm part of a self-employed. I'm a okay. Here we can say we are. See, I don't see designer. So next closest thing I guess is a marketer. What would you like to create? Infographic, presentation, mind map, poster, report, resume, social. Actually, none of these. I guess this site, I mean, they offer a lot more, of course, than just a visual sitemap. So they're giving me all these options here. Just gonna pick some stuff. Click continue. It's probably overkill going through all these things. I should see if I could skip it, but I don't think it lets me skip it. So we'll just pick stuff. Okay, so now it started building something for me. Oh, and I guess we could create any of these. So this site has changed. I guess since the last time I used it, they've added more features and stuff. It's not so much just for creating a sitemap now. But we'll just click create and see what this gives us. But so far, yeah, it's obviously not as simple as Glue Maps. Okay, so what do they let you do here? Maybe if this was my website, I might write my homepage up here, or the name of my site. And then can we delete these? Deleted. Just delete all of these. And they also make you draw these lines. Okay, well, I'm gonna skip this one. I'm not gonna recommend this one just because it's not really designed for a visual sitemap. I'm sure there's a way to do it. It's gonna take a lot of digging into it. Um, Maybe if we look at categories here, I just want a sitemap. There we go. Okay, so if you search for sitemap in Glue Maps, once you've logged in, I'll give you some examples here. We could go with this style or this style or this style. Lots of styles to choose from here. And let's say I like this one. Click create. There we go. So we got our home page, services, projects, support, about. Of course, this is just the default one that it comes with. You can always just double click and change the information in here. So we've got the info where the home page can take you. And we've got the pages, the sub pages, different levels of pages here. So if you go to about, you get to see the company, why us, our story, the team, reviews. And this doesn't necessarily all have to be on separate pages. Like you see how if you go to about, you have the company, why us, our story, the team, reviews. The whole about page could just be one page that contains all of this information too. So these boxes could represent not just pages, but maybe you're trying to keep the number of pages on your website to a minimum. So you have a lot of scrolling and a lot of stuff on the same page. So you could, you know, um, show that on your sitemap by showing the different sections. Right, like if you go to support, there's a frequently asked question section and a privacy and a mail and management. They don't all have to be on separate pages. So this could represent different sections. So if you want a nicer looking, prettier visual sitemap, I would recommend going to Venngage and then just search for sitemap and you'll get a nice template to start from. So let me make sure, actually, I'll link this file here with these 3 examples here. I'm gonna um, I'll upload that to Google Classroom. Let me do that right now, and also I'll assign the 3rd assignment right away. And this says assignment 3, but you know, I should stop putting titles on these, calling them assignment 2, because I always end up switching it to the 3rd assignment or something. But anyways, the 2nd assignment was just to list a bunch of websites. So this is now going to be assignment 3 instead of 2. I'll make this one 4. Okay. And so here I'll say new assignment, assignment 3, visual sitemaps. Oops, that's wireframes. I got this mixed up. That one is 3. Okay. I'll just copy the directions here, and then I'll also attach this file if I can. Last time it wasn't letting me for some reason, but this should contain all the information you need for this. And let's see if we can attach upload file, drag that in there, and assign. So due date, I didn't put a due date on it, but I should. Let me just put a due date of, let's see, today's the 7th, Friday. Well, today's the 6th, tomorrow's the 7th. You have till Monday, let's say. Alright, so that was Venngage. So if you want like a nice looking diagram, go there. The quickest, easiest one is this though, Glue Maps. Just go to Glue Maps and just cuts out all the work for you. All you have to do is click on these and type in what you need to type. You want to add more, just click the plus sign. You end up having too many pages on their home page. Then you can click on matrix view or outline view. Just to reorganize it is kind of different way. So matrix view, and yeah, so use Glue Maps if you just want to quickly get this done. I'm gonna use Glue Maps to start working on my example. I'll do an example, maybe multiple examples, but let's say we're making a website for I don't know, maybe you make soap from home or something. You're one of those people. I make soap. Fancy soaps. So on that home page, you're probably gonna have like different categories, but let's just say soaps. Maybe you also sell, along with soaps, you sell candles. And then you're gonna have a contact page, but we'll list that after shop. So let's say shop. Actually, no. You don't need a shop page if you're gonna have soaps and candles pages. So we'll leave out the shop, but maybe we'll include a cart, shopping cart. And then a login, maybe, because you want your, I don't know, maybe you give rewards to your customers that sign up and they get emails and discounts and stuff. Probably gonna have an about page. About. And you could be more creative about the name, not call it about. Call it something else. And maybe a contact. Okay, let me delete some of these. We got too many. Okay, so we'll start off maybe with that. Just look at it. Think about what else you're gonna need. Selling fancy soaps and candles. Maybe you have different category of soaps. Like, I don't know, what kind of categories of soaps would there be? Solid and liquid. Actually, see, this would mean you go to the solid page and then you click there and you get to the liquid page, but that's not what we want. We want this to be under soaps. So you got your solid soaps and your liquid soaps. And then for candles, maybe you have scented and non-scented. I spelled scented wrong, didn't I? I'm embarrassed if I don't know how to spell scent. No, it's scented. There we go. Non-scented. And then what might you have in the shopping cart? Well, you'll probably have checkout. And then from your checkout page, you might end up at um, order summary. And the login page, just gonna log in. Maybe there, once you log in, maybe you'll have access to other pages, but I don't think the login page itself, login would more be a button, not a page, so we'll ignore that one. And then on the about page, I don't know, our process. The founder. And maybe you have your FAQ. Oops, FAQ. What else would you have under about page? The team, process, frequently asked questions. policies. And then under contact, I don't know. You probably just have your contact form in there, not much else. Anyway, so if this was my final visual sitemap, I can either click save here, and what does save do though? It doesn't look like it. I think it just saves it, so if I ever go to this link again, it'll still be there. Yeah. So you could save it like that and then copy the link. And you see this like hash kind of like random characters. Basically that's your key to this specific setup that you have. So if I paste in like just gluemaps.com, you see it goes to just a blank new file because I don't have this thing attached here. So if you do save it that way, make sure you copy the whole link and then give that to me, or you can export, make this a PNG or a PDF. So if I click export, it should allow me to download like a picture of this. Oh, it's 8 o'clock already. Let's continue after the break. So let me pause the recording. Click that link and join so that we can watch this video together.
How to plan a website structure. Behind this apparently simplistic question actually lies the success. How to plan a website structure. Behind this apparently simplistic question actually lies the success or failure of a website creation project. So stay tuned if you want to make your website creation project a success. Hello, I'm your host Casino. I'm a digital alchemist, and today we're going to see how to plan a website structure so that your website creation project can actually be completed. Maybe not all, but many roads leads to Rome, so this is not the only way to do it. But with a few years of experience, I'm sharing with you a simple yet effective way to tackle the task. But before we hop on the computer, let's see what's at stake. 1. Why is the website structure important? Planning is crucial when creating a website, especially if you're charging for it. But even if you don't, you need to know what you're going to have to build in order to know the resources that you should allocate to the project. Now, we're talking about human resources, but finances also. And it all starts with a plan. Now, would you consider building a house without having some kind of plan? Well, it's the same for a website. The more time you spend outlining how the website will be structured, the less surprises you will get when it's actually time to create the website. Now, once again, if you're building a website for yourself, all you may lose is time, but if you're charging for it, you will lose money and possibly a lot of money and time also. 2. Which tools do you need? Now, you can use pen and paper if you wish, or if you prefer to do it on the computer, you can use free tools such as Notepad on Windows or TextEdit on the Mac. Now, if you want dedicated tools, there are plenty, but to be honest, I prefer to use something like Photoshop or even better, Affinity Designer, which I've already talked about a lot on this channel because I love Affinity product and I'm not being paid to say that. Let's be clear about that. Now, if you don't have any of these tools, you can still use
I want to say Affinity is pretty cool new program that came out. I guess fairly new. Affinity. It's like an alternative to Photoshop and Illustrator. I haven't actually used it, but from what I've seen, it looks pretty interesting.
Use the GIMP, which is completely free. 3. The brief, identify the brief. The brief is very important because this is where the outline of the website starts. You can make it as long and complicated as you wish.
Hold on. So what I think is cool about Affinity, I think they combine both vector and pixel tools together. Unlike, Photoshop is just mostly pixel editing and Illustrator is vector based. I think this has both. And it's not a subscription, so you gotta buy. It's only $55 or $22 on an iPad. So it might be worth investing in. I still haven't picked it up, but I probably will if I'm gonna need more design tools. But we'll see. Anyways, back to the video.
I love Affinity product and I'm not being paid to say that. Let's be clear about that. Now, if you don't have any of these tools, you can still use the GIMP, which is completely free. 3. The brief, identify the needs. The brief is very important because this is where the outline of the website starts. You can make it as long and complicated as you wish, but I like to keep things simple. So basically, what you need is first to gather the stakeholders. Now, if it's just you, then you're already there. But if there are several people that have their say, make sure you plan a meeting ahead of time. Next, when the meeting comes, start brainstorming. For example, what type of content is absolutely crucial on the website? What type of content would be nice to have while not essential? What actions do you want the users to perform? Now, if possible, interview the people from the company, but also customers or potential customers. Also, make sure that you think about the user experience, and you'll see what I mean in a moment. 4. Check the competition. Once you've got the initial brief, make sure that you Google the keywords for which the company wants to be found. And I'm talking about long tail keywords. Now, let's take an example. Let's say that you'll be building a website for a co working space. So you would type something like co working space plus the name of the city and possibly even more keywords. Now, look for the top websites and start analyzing the content and the structure that they have. If they're ranking on the first page of Google, they must be doing something right. Right? Now, SEO is much more than that, and that's beyond the scope of today's video, but it's important to take it into consideration. But also, from a user experience and logical point of view, it may give you a different perspective than what came out from the initial brainstorming session. Compare the results of your analysis to the website structure that initially came out of the brainstorming session and make the necessary amends. If your client does not understand why you want to change the initial structure, the competitor's analysis will bring objective points to the table in the interest of the client. Now, I'm not talking about a long and detailed analysis, but you should definitely take the time to study the competition. If you're creating the website for a company, at this stage you will know exactly what the website will be about, and it will help you evaluate the costs and the time frame of the project. 5. Reorganize the structure with the end user in mind. Now, you should try to limit clutter as much as possible. And in that perspective, try to organize the navigation of the website so that the first level has no more than 7 elements.
Now, why 7?
Well, because our short-term memory apparently feels better when there are less than 7 elements. Now, if you know me, you know that I like to teach with concrete examples. So let's build on our co-working space example. Let's imagine that the client is a new co-working space called Cowork, and they want us to create their very first website. Let's take a look. So the initial brainstorming session is done, and I went onto Google and looked for co-working space, London, for example. So I found a few website, and one of these is this one here, and match that with the initial brainstorming session. So for example, they have locations because they have multiple locations. And in our example, it's actually the same thing. And during the brainstorming session, they didn't really think of separating the pages, but then they wanted to put everything on the same page. Now we look at this website, and it's actually better for SEO to have several locations. So that's one of the ideas you could match in the final draft. So if you take a look, I'm using Affinity Designer, but as I said, you can use Notepad, TextEdit, Photoshop, whatever you want, the GIMP, anything you want basically. And I have a list of the pages that I need. So what was supposed to be initially like 5 pages, you know, like most client will come and say, yeah, I just want an easy website, very simple, 5 pages. But then it becomes more like 20 pages. So we have home, contacts, about, team, locations, which is the page where all the locations can be clicked on. Then we have location 1, location 2, location 3. For the example, let's say we have 3 locations. Then we have the rates. Then we have the call to action with the offer page. We'll talk about that in a moment. We have the blog. Then for the blog, we need categories, single post, of course, privacy policy, cookie policy, terms and conditions, legal, sitemap, search results, and 404 page. More or less, that's all we need in a nutshell, but I'm sure I left some of it out. Now, as I mentioned earlier, you need to take into account that there should be maximum 7 elements on the first level of navigation, because you don't want people to be overwhelmed when they come to your website. Now, if you don't believe me, take a look at this. Let's imagine that that is the navigation of the website, because this is all the pages that we need except for the 404 page, the search results, the categories, and the single post. If you don't know what a 404 page is, basically it's when you try to reach an address that doesn't exist or doesn't exist anymore. So it's an in-between page that can redirect you and tells you that you are lost. Now, back to what we were talking about. Just imagine that you land on a website and this is the navigation that you see on top. Well, that's way too much. I mean, I don't know about you, but my brain is like, yo, where do I look? So that's what I meant when I said we need to take the end user into consideration. We need to reorganize the structure. So I took all of those pages, it's a big soup, and I changed it to that. So we have our header and our footer, and basically what people will see is those 5 elements and the 6th one here. Now I said you can go up to 7 elements. You don't have to go up to 7 elements. If I could have 4 elements, it would be even better. But let's say that I need those 5 here and the call to action here. So basically I still have my home page, and then I decided to have a top navigation called Cowork, which is the name of the fictional company, client company. So we have Cowork, and within Cowork we have about, we have the team page and the contact page. Now there could be a controversy for the contact page because most people are used to have the contact page either on the right hand side on the top or in the footer. Now in most cases I would say, yeah, of course I would put it there. But in this case, I'm actually thinking about a real life project where I had a customer. He didn't want people to keep on calling and contacting because he didn't have enough staff and they were on the phone all day long. He wanted people to fill in a form and actually people to come in the showroom where he was. It was not a co-working space, but he had a showroom. So that's where this idea came from. Otherwise, just put the contact there. So contact is here. Then we have the locations page, and then you can go to each location right away. Then you have the blog, then you have the rates, and then we have the try free offer. And basically that's what I just explained. The try free offer is a page with a form. And basically for this example, it could be that people can get a couple of hours free in the co-working space or a full day free. So it's like a discovery offer. And when they click here, they will land on that page. Next, we have our footer where we would have the legal page. Then we have a privacy top menu. And when people click, they land on a page where they can see the privacy policy, the cookie policy, and the terms and conditions. And then we have the sitemap, which is quite important for SEO purposes. Okay, so this is what it looks like in text. Now, if you want to go one step further, you don't have to do that, but I find that it helps oftentimes. I go into something a bit more visual. Now, this is not completely accurate because when you look at the navigation, home is at the same level than the other pages. But basically, the way I do it is that, of course, home is always the main page, and then you have the pages that you can reach straight from home. So this is the first level in the navigation, as you can see here. And then we have the sub pages. And in the navigation, if we go back, blog, it's only blog, right? It's only one page. But the truth is, you have the blog. Then on the blog, when you land, in this example, you should be able to click on different categories. It could be events, could be, I don't know, classes, many things that the company would want to show. And then within the categories, you have the posts. Then we have our rates and the rest of the navigation. And once again, here we have a thank you page. Now you don't have to have a thank you page, but for tracking purposes, it can be interesting to send to the thank you page. So basically the thank you page would not appear in the navigation, but it's there. And then we have other pages that are not accessible right away from the navigation, like the 404 page that I mentioned earlier, the search results, if there was a search function, which in our fictional case would be the case. Then we have the legal privacy policy, cookie, and terms and conditions that we saw in the footer. Now, in real life, how does it translate? So this is how it would look. This is just a wireframe prototype, so it's not a final design. But we have the homepage here. Then you have the co-work top level. Then we have about, team, and contact. Then we have locations. Then we have our blog. Then we have our rates. And we have a call to action. Of course, in a real life scenario, you want to have enough contrast so that the call to action is visible and spottable. So basically, the idea is that it must be very simple for people to find the information. If you want to know the pricing, you see that rates is in the top level navigation. It could be labeled pricing or rates, it depends. Blog, because let's say that for our client, it's important because they have a content strategy, so they want people to also click on the blog if they don't land there from Google. The locations is very important because if you're going to be a customer in a co-working space, you want to be sure that the co-working space is where geographically you want to actually go. So that's very important. And then things like about us, of course, it's important, but because we want to have less than 7 elements, it was important to group some of the topics under sub-navigation. So here we have about, team, and the contact, and I explained why we put the contact there before. Now, if you go to the bottom of the page, right here, it's very small, but let me make that bigger. We have the name of the company, then we have the link to the legal page, link to the privacy top page, and to the sitemap. And if we take it to the next step and look at the design, this is how it would look, for example. So we have our call to action visible, then we have another call to action here. And basically the idea is to make this very simple so that people actually stay on the website and they can easily spot and find the info that they need. So I hope that this video showed you how to plan a website structure and that it will help you for your projects. Now, if there are other web design and website creation topics that you'd like me to cover, please let me know in the comments. And by the way, you find the companion blog post on my website, ksenior.com. And of course, the direct link is in the description of this video. Now, if you enjoyed this video, please like it, as it really, really, really helps growing this channel. And if you know someone that could...
All right. Yeah, so he covered some good points. Showed you an example of what that visual sitemap would look like translated into an actual page, so you get a better idea of that, hopefully. Um, and yeah, like he said, you don't want to have too many buttons at the top. He said 7 is the magic number, 7 or less. So try to have 7 or fewer main buttons at the top. Um, let me see if my, where was it? Ah, this one. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them. So again, not too many. So if that's the home page, my main navigation is going to have these 6 buttons, and then those will lead to the other ones. So that's an acceptable number. And then also think about the call to action. What do you want people to do when they visit your site? If you want them to buy something, then make sure right on the home page you have something for them to buy and a buy now button. If it's something like what he was describing, some kind of service, um, then you want them to sign up. So you have a sign up button um, right on the home page. So think about that, and then so it's up to you if you want to use Glue Maps, or you could use Venngage, or maybe there's some others out there, but these are two that I know of right now that are pretty easy to use. I think I put some other options here. Yeah, you could use Illustrator, Photoshop, Adobe XD. I don't really use it much, but it's a lot like Figma actually. Um, actually, well, yeah, Figma is more for creating actual wireframe of the site and the mockup, but you could also do that in XD. There's also Flowmap and Mindly and Microsoft Visio and Lucidchart. I I think Flowmap maybe was another one that was easy to use. I'm not sure. Let me just check real quick. Flowmap. But um, yeah, this is one you have to sign in and sign up and stuff. Unless if it lets me use Gmail, that would be nice. But no, it's gonna make me enter an email address and all that, so we'll skip that one. We looked at Venngage. We looked at Glue Maps. Mindly. I don't know if I remember Mindly being more like a more for organizing your thoughts than organizing a page, but you could also use it for that. But again, this is one you have to sign up for. And yeah, that's why I like Glue Maps, because there's no signing up. And Venngage, you could just sign in with your Google account, so that's easy. And I forgot what Microsoft Visio was, but let's check that one out. And it's something you have to actually pay monthly for, so I guess we're not doing that one. What else? And then there's Lucidchart. So this is what Lucidchart would look like. They've got a little preview at least. You still have to sign up and stuff, but there's a preview of it. So I don't know. I think Glue Maps and Venngage are plenty enough. So if you want to just simply create something quick and easy, go with Glue Maps. If you want a slightly nicer looking, pick your design, pick from all the different templates they have, and go with Venngage. Alright, so make sure you read the instructions. You're going to create a visual sitemap showing all the different pages and how they are connected in your website. It's important to get an idea of what pages and links you will have before you jump into building the site. And you may use any tool available that you can find to create the sitemap, and those are your options. Okay. Any questions on this assignment? Nope. Okay, make sure you guys submit those previous assignments. I think I got almost all of the assignment ones turned in already. Let me check if there's anything new here. Nope, okay, so we've seen everything that's been turned in. So assignment 3, this visual sitemap, that's your new assignment. Try to get that done soon because we're in week 2 already. Week 3, we should be creating our mock-ups already. So after we choose our site and think about what pages it's going to have, then we can start putting together a wireframe. That'll be the next assignment. Wireframes. So just like a basic skeleton of what your site is going to look like. And then you can create more polished, more finished looking, but not actual website. And then finally on the last week, we will create the actual site. And at that point, you'll have to decide, are you going to use Wix or Weebly or Shopify or whatever tool is available out there, or are you going to build it yourself? Now, those tools like Weebly, Wix, they're supposed to be easy to figure out, so I won't spend too much time on those. I might talk about Webflow a little bit, but I want to use up more class time to go over HTML and CSS with you guys in case you're going to build it from scratch yourself. I want to cover the basic things you're going to need. So for the rest of class, and maybe we'll continue this tomorrow, I will show you how to do this with just basic HTML, CSS, and then maybe I'll use Bootstrap a little bit because Bootstrap will make some of the things easier, like adding the drop-down menus and the slideshows. So if you are going to build it yourself, you're going to want to make sure you have Visual Studio Code, of course. So I have it, so I'll just type VS in the search. And here's my Visual Studio, and I want to start a new project, so I'm going to click on my desktop and create a new folder. We'll call this portfolio. And in this portfolio site, we will open that with Visual Studio. So File, Open Folder, go to my desktop. There's that portfolio folder. So this is going to be, the initial steps are just like assignment 1. We're going to need our basic index.html. Remember, index is just commonly used for the home page. So when you visit a site, it automatically loads whatever is named index.html or index.php if you're using PHP. So to create our basic structure, exclamation, tab gets us our doc type and our HTML element with the head and the body, and the head will include some common meta tags that you will need. So again, this one just character set UTF-8 just tells you what character set you're using. This one is just some compatibility stuff for Internet Explorer or Edge. And this one is just to make sure when you load the page on a phone or a smaller device that you won't just get like a tiny version of the desktop site. Your fonts and everything will be the appropriate size. Everything will sort of fit nicely. But of course, that's not all it's going to take. You're also going to have to think about your layout, how you're going to design that, make sure it's mobile friendly, and I'll cover all that as well. So at this point, let's just click save, and I'll have this open on the side. And remember, I told you guys about the plugins you can install in Visual Studio Code and extensions. And the one I'm going to use now is the live server, so make sure you have that. It looks like this. So with live server, I can right click open with live server. That should open the page here and give us a live preview. So if I make any changes and save it, it'll automatically update. So I'll keep that there and keep this here. And so the first thing we're gonna want to do is add our navigation bar. So this is, I'm skipping ahead a little here. We haven't got the chance to create the wireframes and the mock-up and all that. And I'm just gonna make a basic portfolio site because it doesn't take too much planning here. So of course, before you start doing this, I want you to check to create your mockups first and your wireframes. Sorry, there's some commotion outside. I don't know if it's my neighbors or what, but hopefully they're not loud enough that you guys can hear. Okay, so we'll start by, how about this? I'll create a basic outline of this in Figma, and then we'll start building it. So Figma is going to be a tool that you should use if you're going to create mockups. Let me just go to figma.com. Okay, here we are, and it's just showing me some basic. These are included with Figma. These are just some planning tools, just templates that you can use for that. If you're curious, they just look like this, and you can rearrange these and type inside them and stuff. But this isn't for a website, so we're gonna leave this one. And looks like it saved it here. Let me delete that. Let's delete. Actually, I'll keep that. I'm gonna, let me go over just some basics of Figma. So there are some tutorial boxes here. So when you first start this, you're not gonna have these. You're gonna have the Figma basics, prototyping in Figma, and wireframing in Figma. So Figma basics will walk you through the basics of using this. I recommend looking at this file. You just need to zoom in. I hold Control and use my mouse wheel to zoom in, but you should be able to zoom in. Let's see, where's the zooming button? Oh, here. So on the right side, right corner, you could zoom to 100% if you want to see full size. And you could press the space bar. When you hold the space bar, your mouse changes to a hand, and you can move around the screen with that. So this tutorial will walk you through the basics of starting your design in Figma. So I don't know. I'm thinking we'll save this for tomorrow, because next week we'll start building this. But if you want, you can start going through this already. But let me just create a quick mock-up here. Back to files. I'm going to say create new project design file. Just close this. And when you first open it, it's just empty. So you're going to have to click the second tool here, which is the frame tool. When you click that, it'll give you some basic sizes. So iPhone, iPhone 11, Google Pixel, Android, tablet, desktop, presentation. I'm gonna start with, let's start with the mobile first design. So I'll just click phone and then I don't know, I'll pick basic. Actually no, Android is 360 by 640 here. Actually they're all similarly sized, 428 by 926 for a bigger phone, but the basic phone should be 360 by 640 here. So that gives us an artboard to work on. And I wanted to add a navigation. So my navigation, I'll represent that with a rectangle. Either it's going to be on the top like that. We could have like a sidebar, but I think for a phone, we definitely want something up there so it's not taking up what little space we have here. And here, so we're going to want some buttons. So I'm going to get the type tool and type home. Oops, caps lock. We have our home button. And sometimes you don't need a home button. You just put like a logo that you click on, takes you to the home page. But I'll include it for this one. And then we can have an about. And I'm holding Alt to copy this. It's just like in Illustrator or Photoshop or most programs. You hold the Alt button and drag something. It will make a copy. Home, about, and let's say we're a designer. Okay, so we'll stick with that. So projects maybe. And I don't know, I want a contact page, but or a contact section. You can either have your contact up here. You probably do for if it's a portfolio site, the whole point of it is to have people contact you so you can do work, or it's to, I don't know, it's just something you show when you apply for a job. You want to have a portfolio online, but a contact might be something you want them to see right away. And what's nice about Figma is it will help you evenly space things apart. You can see here when I drag this, kind of measures it, it says 53. But you could also select all of the items and you can click on this button here on the top right under design. You want to distribute horizontal spacing. Okay, so basically what that does is if they're like kind of off like this, you want them evenly spaced apart. Distribute horizontal spacing will make them evenly spaced apart. So you're gonna want something like this for your navigation. Could even be without a background. Maybe it's just the buttons there and the rest of the content here, like when you first visit the page, maybe it's a big picture. And since this is a phone, probably want that image covering the entire page. They don't have an image placeholder box, but you could just use a gray box, I guess, to say there's some kind of picture here. We could type that in there and just to make sure we know. This will be an image. Increase the font size. You do that from, again, under the design panel on the right. And for a simple mockup, you don't have to worry about too much else. You could just use the shapes to draw the different sections and the type tool to type it up. But then if you want to move on to the prototyping, which with prototyping you get to like do things like, if I click this button, where does it send me? And you can have multiple of these artboards. So basically, like, let's say I'm just gonna type projects here. Pretend that's the projects page. You can go to prototype and we can create connections here. So add an interaction, click plus here. We want to be able to click this button and take us to this page. So you just click there and drag to here. And then if I click play, I click projects, you can see it takes me to the projects page. So it gives you a nice preview. That's more for, if you're trying to show the client what the final thing might look like once the developer builds the site. But yeah, this is why and I'm teaching you both the design part of this and the development part, or at least the HTML and CSS part. But a lot of times though, it's going to be two separate people, one person doing the design and someone else doing the actual building the site. But here you could, if you're the designer, you can tell the developer how you want it to function. So it's simple, like dragging from here to there to say that you want this to go from this page to that page. Let's add another one. And then maybe you click, we'll keep the home button here. Oops, gotta go back to design if you wanna mess with these again. So back on the design page, I'll copy the navigation here. Oops, and maybe here as well. So if I'm on the projects page and want to go back to the home page, then I'll click on prototype, and let's see, it looks like it already has connections made for some reason, but I want this to take me back there. And I want projects to bring me to projects. I want home to take me to the home page always. So if I click play again, oops, I forgot to write something here. This is, let's say it's the contact page. Then I can click and drag from here to here, and also from here to here. And I don't know if you could drag to itself. That would kind of be pointless, but let's go to the home page, click play. Now if I click projects, I'm on the projects page. I click home. Uh-oh, I think I didn't do that one right. Should take me back to the home page though. Yeah, so I don't know why it didn't work, but that should take me back there. Home. Why is it connected to this? That's weird. And yeah, I don't know why there's two connections to it. And then this one takes us here. Contact, projects, home. I think now it should work. Click projects, click home. Anyways, it's not working properly. But I'm not gonna make you guys go through the prototyping. Just design it. You'll do a simple wireframe first, something like this, where you don't actually have the pictures and the logos and stuff and the content. But then you can work on this even more after you've created the wireframes. You can start adding the pictures and convert this to a prototype. But anyways, to get a simple navigation like this, this actually is not a good idea on a mobile device, I should say. Maybe on a desktop device it would be good like this, but if we're on a mobile, you're gonna want to replace these with a button. Maybe the button doesn't have to be that big, that's kind of huge. So maybe make it a bit smaller. And then when the person clicks the button, let me delete these. When the person clicks the button, then we can create another artboard for that. Let's do Android again. So they click that, and that leads to an open menu. Maybe this becomes a close button. Let me just delete that background, we don't need it. I guess I don't have a background. That's the actual artboard itself. Why is it gray though? But yeah, it's annoying. I'm trying to click this and keep selecting the background. Okay. So that will turn into an X. And then we'll also have a menu pop out. So the menu could maybe just be like taking up part of the page, or maybe the whole page. Let's say it goes like that. And then you'll have all those buttons that we had originally. We'll just list them here, like projects. Make it smaller a little bit. Decrease that font size. About contact. What else do we have here? I know I'm missing one. Oh, it's the home page probably. We could also add blog here. Maybe you have a blog you want people to go to. I will distribute vertically. Anyway, so we can show that if you go to prototype, we can actually, let's group this together. You want to group the buttons together too, so you don't click one bar and it takes you, and then nothing happens when I click the other two bars. So for that, you need to make sure you group it. So right click, you could also press Control G, but group selection, and then do the same with this one. group selection, and you can also organize the stuff on the left side here. Like here it's called group 1, but let's call that the hamburger button. Call it a hamburger button just because it's 3 layers. Like that's the bun and the meat, but I don't know. That's just what they call it. So this one, close button. So if we go to prototype, if I click this button, I want it to take me to this page. And if I click this button, I want it to take me there. It's not actually a different page. This is just representing the menu opening and closing. And then I don't know if we could add like animations to it. Interactions, no. Connections, no. I thought there was a way to like add little animations to this. There might be, I just forgot. On tap, navigate to, oh yeah, here we go. Animation, let's say slide in. And we want it to slide in left. Yeah, I think that should work. So if we click play, and I click this button, so that gives you like a preview of what it would look like, right? If we click this button, this menu will pop up from the side. So since I built this in the design, since I created a little wireframe mockup of this, we'll try to create this exact thing, something simple like this, okay? So that means we're gonna need a navigation. So normally your navigation goes inside the header. So we'll create a header. Don't confuse that with head. So head is just where you keep all this stuff. Header is the actual, it's just a section to organize things, right? It's all for organizing purposes. You could just put your like menu buttons without having a container, but this helps with SEO and it also just helps organize things. So header will have a nav inside, and the nav will have a button that you can click on. So that button that you saw me create, I will create that with a div, and I'll give it a class equal to hamburger. Just call it hamburger. So inside the hamburger, I mean, you could just put a background image of what the button looks like, but I'm gonna use spans to draw the 3 vertical bars. So that 1, 2, 3 bars, those are gonna be spans. So a span is just like a div. It's just a container, except this is an inline element. This is a block level element, meaning block level elements like divs and navs and headers and paragraphs and h1s, they take up the entire vertical space. I mean the entire horizontal space. So they take up a whole row. You can't put stuff next to them. But the span is inline. So a span is like adding like an I around a word to make it italic, or like adding a B to make it bold. You could put words that are surrounded in bold, you could put them next to each other, right? But if you put two words, if you put a word in a div in the middle of a paragraph, you're gonna make that word jump to a new line. It's not gonna be in the same paragraph anymore. So spans are a type of element that you can wrap words with, and it won't make the word go to a separate line. It'll stay where it is. And you could just use the span to style it. Like you could give a span a class equals like red, for example, and everything surrounded with the span with the class of red, you could use CSS to make it red and italic and specific font or whatever you want. For this though, I'm just going to use them to draw some vertical bars, or I mean horizontal bars. Let's open this again. So that's going to look like this. We've got the 3 spans. If you want to see the header and the nav and the div, I could give them styles. Let me open up a CSS file. Actually, I'm going to put that in a CSS folder first. Call it styles.css. And I'm actually going to just jump straight to using SCSS because it's not that different. Rename, and I could write regular CSS in this, but it's a SCSS file. So if you want to use SCSS, all it lets me do is, like, instead of saying header nav div with the class of hamburger, like instead of doing it this way, like having some header styles and then having some nav styles, like maybe I'm giving this a background color of, I don't know, black, and then this one background color gray, and then this one background color white. And then we have to, of course, connect it. We need to connect link type equals text slash CSS rel equals style sheet href equals CSS slash styles.css. Now the styles.css file does not exist yet, but as soon as I click, did I save that? I think I did save it. Actually, click the close button. But down here you can see it says watch Sass. I don't know if you guys can see that, but that's another plugin I had to install called the Live Sass compiler. Looks like this. So I installed this just so I could use this SCSS file. Otherwise, you can't really do anything with that. So when you have Live Sass compiler installed and you create a SCSS file like this one, if you click this Watch Sass button, you'll notice it created a CSS and a CSS.map file for me. You could ignore the CSS map file and the CSS file. Just make sure you're linking to that CSS file. But you can see here it's basically the same thing. My styles.scss and CSS file, they're the same, except for this comment. And my page, let's open it again. Index. There it is. So we still can't see those colors yet, even though I added all these background colors and stuff. And I think that's just because there's nothing in here, they're empty. And they have no width or height, so I gotta add that as well. So let's just say height 60 pixels for the header, and a height of, I don't know, 50 pixels for the nav, and a height of, let's say, 40 pixels for the hamburger. Okay, now we can see them. So you can see the Alice blue, so this light color up there, that's the hamburger button. The nav is this gray bar, and the header is the black. And this one is in front of everything, and then it's this one, and then the black one is in the back. That's why it's like looks smaller. Um, but we can also maybe add some padding to the header, so you could see it better. So this entire thing is the header, and then the hamburger button is inside the nav, which is inside the header. So if I give the nav some padding too, like 10 pixels, you can see that. And I'm actually gonna make that 40 pixels instead. Okay, so there's the header and the nav and the hamburger button. And right now you can see they're like 100% width, so you're gonna have to change the width obviously if you don't want it to look like that. The header and the nav, I probably leave it at 100 for now, but the hamburger, I'm gonna say width of 40 pixels, so it's like a little square. By default it's gonna be on this left side, but we could make it move to the right side later. And then to draw those 3 bars inside the hamburger button, thinking maybe a little bit bigger would be nice. Let's do, how about 0 padding on the nav, and actually let's keep that padding, and make this 50 by 50 instead of 40 by 40. Lower that to 5 pixels. No. Oh, this has to be 50 as well. Okay, so it's a little bit bigger now. So these 3 spans are now going to be those 3 bars. So and I was trying to get to the point of why I'm using Sass, because I don't like writing my CSS like this all separated from each other, because in here you can see we've got our header, and then inside the header we have the nav, inside the nav we have the div with the spans. So what SCSS lets me do is take this nav and put it here inside header, and lets me take this div.hamburger and let me put it in the nav right after the nav padding. So now it's set up a little bit more like this, so it's kind of easier to find stuff. So if I want to change these spans, those spans are inside this div hamburger, so inside here I'll just add span, and I'll say each of my spans is going to have a height of, let's say, 5 pixels. It's going to have maybe some margin of 5 pixels, and it's going to have a background color of, let's make it dark cyan. What else? Oh, span, like I said, is a inline element. So inline elements, normally you can't give them a width or a height, so you have to convert it to a block level. So you have to say display block, or inline block will also work. And we don't have a width on these, so let's put width of 50 pixels. And now we can see those. Let me zoom in on that. Oops. Zoom in here. And then because of, I think it's because of some padding we have, or it's the margin. I put margin 5 pixels, so margin 5 pixel all around. Really, I just want margin on the top and the bottom, so I'll say 5 pixels 0 there. So that means 5 on the left and the right, 0 on the top and the bottom. And I'll probably make these a little bit thicker as well. Let's make them 7 pixels tall. And that first one still has margin on it. I kind of don't want that top one to have it. I could just target the first one by saying nth child 1, no margin on the top. But why don't I just decrease the margin all around until... Actually, what happens if I put 0 margin? They just sort of... They're already separated from each other. Not sure why. Inline block. Okay. If I make it block, then they're gonna collapse into each other. Then I need the margin. Let's say 5 pixels again. Oh, now you can see it's actually 5 pixels. I think we could afford to increase that to 10. Maybe not 10. Like 7. And also, I'm gonna reset all my default margins in case there's margins that I didn't set myself. They're just already there. I'm gonna say star, which targets everything. I'm gonna set all the margins to 0. Okay, so everything is gonna have margin 0 to start with. That's why now there's no more space on the left and the top of the navigation. So I don't like using margins because they do weird things. Like if I put a margin on this bar and there's margin on the top of it, it's gonna push it down, not just the bar itself, but it's gonna push the whole div that it's inside of. That whole hamburger is getting pushed down because of this margin 7 pixels. So what can we do instead? We could use display grid, or actually not on the span itself, on the hamburger icon. If you add display grid, you can see it already looks better. And then we could just calculate what we want the height to be. Let me change this to 10, let's say. Now we got some thicker bars. So if that's 10 pixels tall, each of these, that's 10, 20, 30, plus, what did I put for... Well, I didn't put anything for these spaces in between. But I do have margin. Oh no, I don't. It's the padding of the... Actually, I don't have padding there either. My padding is on the header, which does not affect the this button. If I want these to be evenly, like I want this to touch the bottom, so what can I do? I think all I have to do is just get rid of the height on the hamburger. Oh no, if I do that, then they'll collapse. Okay, we want to keep the height, but we want the span to be on the bottom there, so I think if we go to the hamburger where we put display grid, we can try align items center. There we go. So now it's more centered. Oh, and the space between each of these, you can adjust it with row gap, let's say 10 pixels. Okay, yeah, 10 pixels looks like it's perfect. So if I put like 2 pixels, it'll decrease the space, but I'll keep it 10 pixels. I wonder if I went 20, what would happen? Okay, yeah, 20 is clearly too much. So 10 is perfect. At that point, we have our buttons, our bars there. Let me zoom out so we can see what that looks like at 100%. So now we don't need any of the other background colors anymore, so I'll just get rid of them. So this black background on the header, the gray background, and this white background on the button itself. I'm going to delete all those and just leave that one. Okay, and the other thing is I want this to be on the right side. So what I need to do is move this entire hamburger to the right side of the screen. And I can do that a couple ways. One way is, since this is a block level element, we can use absolute positioning. So position absolute. With absolute positioning, if you say right 0, it's gonna stick to the right side, or 0 pixels away from the right side. But I don't know, it's not a good idea to put if we're already using display grid somewhere, might as well use display grid on this one as well. So putting display grid on the hamburger box, remember that's the div that these 3 bars are inside of. When I put position, not position, when I put the display grid on that, I basically set this box up as a grid. Basically that box gets split into a grid, and I didn't decide any columns or rows yet, so it's just defaulting to one column. And then I put row gap 10, and I used align items center to vertically center it. But if you use justify content center, you could horizontally position things. Okay, but again, if I put justify content horizontal here, like if I put like left, if I want to move it to the left, I'm gonna be moving the bars within the box that they're in. So this is not where I'd want to put it. Instead, it's the whole hamburger box itself that I want to move to the right side. So what I need to do is make the nav display grid. You put display grid on the container, and then you move around the things inside the container. So the nav is the container for that hamburger box. So I put display grid on the container of it, which is the nav. And then I can say justify content end, and puts it on the right side. Okay, so that's there. Now we need to be able to click it and bring out like a side panel, or like a full menu. So just to go over this again, we have our header, which we just gave it a height of 60 pixels and padding 10 pixels. But honestly, if we're not going to show it, we don't even need to put any of that. The only thing this affected when I deleted it is that since I'm deleting that 10 pixel padding, then it's 10 pixels closer to the edge. See, like this, it was a little bit further. With no padding, that's just touching the side now. I also have padding here, 5 pixels. If I get rid of that, then that's going to touch the corner. So let's not do that. Let's keep this at like 20 pixels, just to keep that a good distance away from the top and the side. So we have a height and some padding on the navigation. We put display grid, justify content end, just so we could divide or use grid positioning on the navigation to push the content that's inside of it, which is the hamburger button, to the end. And then the hamburger button itself has, we don't need right 0 anymore. That was for when I was using position absolute, but since I'm not, it makes no sense to have right 0 there, so I got rid of it. So for the hamburger, we have a height of 50 pixels, a width of 50 pixels, pretty much a square. Display grid again, but this time for the 3 bars, I wanted those to like align in the center of it. So that's why I use display grid align item center. If I don't have this, then yeah, they're just gonna collapse into each other. So display grid to space them apart, and then align item center to center them. Actually, at this point, we don't even need align item center anymore because yeah, it's already looks like it's centered. That's because I added the row gap 10 pixels, so it had no. It's like it's exactly as tall as 50 pixels, so you can't really center it anymore. It's already centered. And then we have the spans. We put display block because if you don't, you won't be able to change the height and the width. So we gave it a width and a height, and so each of the bars is 50 pixels wide and 10 pixels tall. And gave them a background color of dark cyan, so they have that color. So it's just a very basic way to add your buttons there. And the reason why you could have also just for this, remember, you could have just put an image of 3 bars, right? Use that as your button. But if you do that, then you're not going to be able to animate these later and change them to an X. So having them actually made up of HTML elements like span lets me like rotate them and animate them and stuff. So gives me a little bit more options than just throwing a JPEG or a PNG or a vector image in there instead of a actual element. All right. So if that button is there, when we click the button, we want to open up a menu. So that menu, we're going to have to add the HTML content for it. So it's also going to be inside the header. It's also going to be inside the nav. Actually, sorry, we should take the hamburger button and just put that inside the header directly, not inside the nav. Let's keep the nav separate for the actual navigation. So we'll have header and then we'll have the hamburger button. So since I moved that around, it's header, hamburger, and then nav. We should also do that here. So header, hamburger is no longer inside nav, so I'm going to take out hamburger and put it inside header. And it still works. Actually, no, it does not still work. We have header, we have the hamburger, we have the spans inside that. We also have the nav. Since we're not putting the hamburger button inside the nav anymore, we need to move this justify content and display grid. We should move that into header, because now the header is the parent of the hamburger. So now it's back to where it was. Let's put that padding also on the header. There we go. So I just moved things around a little, but just rearranging it. So now the hamburger is inside the header directly. And then after the hamburger, we have the nav. Okay, so the nav is where I'll add my navigation buttons. So these will go inside an unordered list. I have a list item for each button, and each button is a link, so it's going to go inside A or anchor tag with the href equal to the location of the where you want that to take you to, but I'm going to put a hashtag as a placeholder. And then we'll just list our buttons here. So projects, copy that, paste it a couple times. About, blog, contact. So there's that list right there. So it's in the right format, as in it's horizontal. So we do want it to be, I mean, it's vertical. So we do want it to be like this. Projects, about, blog, contact, one on top of the other. But of course, we need to get rid of the bullets. We need to make it bigger, much bigger, and maybe center it on the page. I would start working on that now, but it's 9:42 already, and if we get into this now, it's gonna take a long time to do, I think. So I'll skip this. I'll save this for tomorrow. In the meantime, I guess if you guys have any questions so far, because I haven't done too much yet, so you can't be too far behind right now, right? I haven't done a crazy amount. I just created this button here using some spans and a header and a nav. So try to put that together for now. See if you can. It doesn't have to be part of your final project that you're working on. Just test yourself. Create a new VS Code project and see if you can create just 3 bars for your navigation. And let me just leave this open for a little bit so you guys can look at it. So this is all I have at the moment. And remember, if you're using regular CSS, you can't be nesting things like this. So instead, your CSS is going to look like this, where you have your header, and then header div hamburger, and then header div hamburger span, and header nav. So it's just everything is separated instead of nested together like this. So it's a little bit harder to find stuff. So that's why I recommend using SCSS. So if you're watching the recording, there it is. It's the entire HTML for you. And then the entire SCSS and my project structure. We've got index and a CSS folder with our styles.scss. Remember, these automatically get generated when you click that watch Sass button after you install the live Sass compiler. So you have to have this to use that SCSS. Install that, click the watch button on the bottom, and then it'll automatically create the styles.css and the styles.css map for you. Alright, and that's it for tonight's lecture. Let me give you the sign out code. Sign out code is going to be what's today? Today's the 6th. Oh, it's 1, 2, 3. Simple enough. 1, 2, 3. And I haven't posted it. Let me post it real quick. sign out. Wednesday, October 6th. Alright, it's posted. So again, sign out is 1, 2, 3.